It was a day, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was definitely a day.
It was a day. Hey everybody, it's Dick here. This is episode 12 of The Good, the Grit, and the Icy, and I realize now that we're still only on day 3 of our trip. For some reason, I'm giving you every bit of footage, well, maybe not every bit, but most every bit of footage of our trip because there always seemed to be something going on or something of interest, and I have a problem with not sharing it all. The goal of day 3 was to get from Loch Lomond up to the Isle of Skye, and despite our communication systems failures and the icy roads and the early sunset, we were still optimistic of making it to the Isle of Skye. I was a bit nervous when we came through Fort William because all of the bed and breakfasts had closed for the season signs, and I didn't think that we were going to have much luck the further north we went, and that proved to be the case as we pushed towards the Isle of Skye. I was also reminded of how poorly the Street Cup was performing in terms of fuel efficiency, and we hadn't seen a petrol station for quite a while. Despite that, we pressed further and further north towards Skye. The temperature was quickly dropping as the sun was dropping, and the frost returned, and in some cases never left on the roads and definitely on the meadows and fields and mountains around us. The Glengarry viewpoint, looking out towards that majestic valley to the west, made it worthwhile. And any absurdity that the trip had was measured, was always balanced by the enthusiasm and the support that I had from Shakedown as a riding partner.
I can't even keep quiet. This is a biker's paradise, man. This is insane. Maybe the wrong time of year, but that's what makes it more of an adventure. But I mean, anybody watching this channel, seeing these curves, as long as they're not getting seasick and yakking on their keyboard, probably is wondering how they get themselves here and how soon they get themselves here. There's a little weather station up on that mountain. Had more fun in second gear on this trip. Crazy. Is that a hatchback pulling an RV? Oh. Oh. Oh God. So my helmet is cracked. So it turns out they do salt the roads, and I can taste it. Saline. That was a salt truck that just went by us. Probably wondering why he saw two idiots on motorbikes passing him in the other direction, because he hasn't salted this way yet. Oh, man. I do appreciate the flicks of tan now that I see across the road. Now I know what those are. There's lobs of salt and maybe some sand. Who knows? Look at this. Just cliff. Do not go straight. You will not be found. Holy shit. Yeah, that would be a fun ride down to the loch. Deer right there. luck. Oh, look at that dam. That's not a real lock. That's a man lock. Probably some hydropower there. Loyne Dam, the Loan Dam. As soon as you see frost, you pucker. Because they got up into the, still single digits, but around 6 degrees today in this area. The frost is still there. It means it didn't get to 6 degrees. And I'm back to the display on the BMW constantly blinking. It's not a light blink like on the BMW vehicles that warns you, hey, what's over to the left there? More deer. Look at the size of those bad boys. Jeez. Oh, you see the rack on that one? Yeah, it's not like a BMW or a lot of other cars where once the temperature drops below a certain temperature, you get a warning. Obviously, it's much easier to see your cluster on a car than it is a motorcycle. So the entire time it gets below X temperature on this bike, it blinks and it blinks and it blinks. Every time you look down, it grabs your attention. And you become a little obsessed. Boy, just losing elevation here. Yeah. I don't suspect this part of the mountain gets much sun this time of year. I don't know if many of you are familiar with skiing. You see this at a lot of the ski resorts in the Northeast where they use snow machines. They basically pump water out of a pond, blow it into the air. We're taking a left here, yep. Blow it into the air and make snow. But it also lands on everything else, and it looks a lot like this. Like somebody took a paper spray can and just sprayed the trees white. Sorry for the sniffles. 0 degrees. Oh, this is nice. This is a real motorway. So good? It's a lonely highway. I'm not getting run down by lorries. Yet.
Iowa Sky.
No. The wrong side of the road. There's one. Drive on the left. Links Fahren Kaduk. Well, I'm not even going to try that. You can tell there's a lot of tourists here when they got to put it in 3 or 4 languages. Although if you're this deep into the Highlands, and I haven't seen a car rental place anywhere around here, if you're this deep into it, and you don't remember to stay to the left, I don't know what to do for you. Surprisingly, Mr. Whistles did not point out that peak right there, which is disappearing. Shocked, dismayed, confused. Yeah, this whole valley is just frosted over. A sign for another dam over there. Who knows if we'll see that one or not, but, and again, I'm not going to, oh, there it is, on the left. Can't miss it. Just drive to, you see the dam. You can't miss it. Water must be pointing the other way because there's no lake there. Let me guess. There's a lake here. There it is. Sorry, lock. Ah, I remember what the lake on top of a mountain is. Was it more than 1 hour? I think it was. The relief map of the mountain that Whistles wants to climb at some point had a lake on it, and it was actually a lock. It wasn't just a lock, it was a lock-in, which has some other distinction, I think, of being maybe in the mountains or smaller, like a pond. It's a cirque lake, C-I-R-Q-U-E, usually formed by glaciers. They carve out a little pocket. They're probably always formed by glaciers. In that case, there was a volcanic activity, so who knows? But, yeah, Cirque Lake. I figured it would take me about an hour to finally come back to me. I think it's been maybe 2 hours, but I knew it would get there. Nothing makes you more nervous than seeing somebody drive an RV when the normal vehicle they drive is like a Polo back home. A VW Polo. The other distinct disadvantage of touring this area this time of year is just so far north. Even on paper, you're like, oh, 7-8 hours? I mean, that's a normal day. No. Your day just disappears through your fingers like sand at a beach. It's just, you've got more in the tank mentally and physically, but the sunlight is not on your side. And, you know, we've already gotten into some of these valleys that are already at the freezing point. And as soon as that sun gets behind these mountains like it is now, it just drops even faster. I mean, I just got it why people imagine Loch Ness. A little hiker walking right here. I totally get it why people think there's a magical creature living in one of these little locks. Welcome to Sky! Yeah, it really is, we keep saying it is magical here, but it just clicks. Your imagination could go wild and what could be living in the depths of one of these lakes? None other than a primordial little creature.
As the sun set, the clouds rolled in. Looking back at the footage, I'm surprised at how well the GoPro's working in this low light, because it was definitely more dusk than it seems on screen. We had yet to find a petrol station, and I was getting nervous. What we also failed to find was any more accommodation, even those closed for the season. It was another night of us racing the sun. At one point we did find some sort of corporate chain bed and breakfast situation that had a card-only petrol pump out front that didn't really seem to want to take any sort of payment or give me any petrol. The gentleman behind the counter of the bed and breakfast said that we would have his last room, even though the parking area was vacant of any cars, and he would charge us a very tidy £200 a night. We decided to press on for the Isle of Skye. I called ahead to a couple of accommodations in Skye, and they were not interested in opening the doors to us that night, but they suggested that we try for Dornie, which would be just shy of Skye. And so Dornie was our destination, although we were unable to get in touch with anyone who had any accommodations in Dornie. No one was answering the phones, but we went on anyway because we were hard-pressed to stay in a place that didn't seem that inviting. Another phenomenon of watching the footage back during warmer months is that the footage doesn't really convey how cold it was. It was definitely below zero at this point of the day, and the roads were still pretty slick. The heated gear had a funny effect in that when you ride a motorcycle, you kind of rely on a lot of your senses, and the temperature is one of those things that informs how you might ride or how the roads might feel. And when you're riding in heated gear, you have a disconnect to how cold everything is. The fog in your helmet reminds you of how cold everything is, and maybe a little wind on your chin, but the disconnect from the ambient temperature definitely put us in a couple of situations that would have been avoided if we had felt the cold of the day. Oh God, close your eyes. Luckily or unluckily, we had some constant reminders that it was in fact cold and dangerous to be out on the roads, and the grit trucks were very accommodating in that case. As we pressed on for Dornie, the sun was dropping quickly, and we were less than optimistic about our chances of finding accommodation. But that's part of the wonder of doing a road trip at any time of the year, and you just kind of hold yourself open to the fates, and if it comes down to knocking on some doors, we're not above humbling ourselves for a bed for the night. When we arrived in Dornie, all of the bed and breakfasts had closed for the season signs out. The Dornie hotel was dark. We pulled into the empty parking lot nonetheless. There was a single light on in the window under the sign that said bar. I walked over to the door under the sign that said hotel, and as I approached the door, the light came on. A woman opened the door and said, "I saw you from the bar." And I bashfully asked if the hotel was open or if there was rooms available, and she warmly said, "Of course they are. They're open year-round." Now, they're open year-round, but the place was empty, and they had to turn the heat on for us, so our room got a nice glaze of condensation from the warmth of our bodies and the heat that was filling the musty room. Despite that, the people were very warm and accommodating, and the place was just what we needed for the night. It's 4:30, it's dark, and we're in a bare bones room in Dornie. It was the day, what did you say?
Yeah, it was definitely a day.
It was a day. I don't know if you can see my glasses. There's some road grime on it. From the salt trucks.
The grit trucks.
We got hit by the grit trucks.
The grit trucks.
Yeah. So we've earned some time off, but it's still in the middle of the afternoon.
So much more riding could be done, but
yep.
No.
It's a different world up here. Our host seemed very adamant about telling us that the town shop was going to close in a half an hour, and she insisted that we make it over there before they close. We were interested in finding some surgical spirits or rubbing alcohol to see if we might be able to resolve our electronic issues and our communications systems. So we took a walk over, but didn't have any luck. We ended up sitting at the bar with a couple of locals, and then sidled up to the coal fire, which was just what we needed to warm the cockles of our souls. The publican was from County Meath, and he had a lot to tell us about the area and why they stayed open all year. He told us that we could sit by the fire, but he said that in about a half an hour, a man called the Coughing Codger would come in and sit right on top of the fire and talk our ear off if we let him. And sure enough, right on time, the man came in, stood in front of the fire, blew his nose, threw his tissue into the fire, sat down, and ordered a pint, which we happily paid for because of his entertaining chat all night. It's one of those things where 30 minutes before we arrived in Dornie, we thought we might be shivering together, spooning in some gully under a tree or in a rotted out tree trunk to stay alive for the night, and we ended up having one of the most entertaining and wonderful evenings that we could have had on our trip. If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.